Going global in healthcare isn't as easy as hiring a local salesperson to drive new deals. It takes a lot of work, but it's worth it. Today, I am here in London in the UK at the headquarters of RLDatix, a company that has successfully scaled their business in 5 different countries. Joining me on camera is Miles Barr. In this interview, you'll learn how RLDatix balances local nuance with global product thinking, what really it takes to be successful in different countries, and how the company plans to leverage AI to help reduce the burden of safety reporting. Stick around because Miles shares what most teams get wrong when expanding internationally. Let's get to it. Miles, welcome to the program.
Cool. Thank you, Colin.
I'm excited to be here in London at the RLDatix office. Thank you again for the hospitality and allowing me to come in today. I'm excited because I normally don't get a chance to do this, let alone do it overseas.
Yeah, no, it's a great coincidence. You're in town and you can kind of drop in. We're just talking about how you actually started. We're there at our Toronto office when that was opened many years ago. So it's great to have you here in London.
Yes, full disclosure, I used to work at RL Solutions many years ago. but I've kept up with the space a little bit since then, and I'm excited to talk to you about a topic we don't really talk about on our program, and that is international expansion. Because one of the things that RLDatix has done almost from day one has been to go beyond the native country where the companies were founded. Right? Datix here in London, quickly expanded overseas to North America. RL Solutions in Toronto, quickly expanded to the US and to Australia and a little bit to Europe. So I'm curious to dive into that. But before we get there, I mean, RLDatix is in a very unique space in healthcare. It's in the patient safety space.
Yes, that's right.
And that's not something we talk about either very much.
No, it's not.
But I mean, haven't we solved this? I mean, isn't healthcare safe for everyone?
Yeah, I think it sort of goes back to, first, do no harm. Healthcare should be safe. Like, no one goes to the profession wanting to kind of cause any harm. But unfortunately, it still does happen. I think we've come on a lot over the past kind of years, sort of decades, improving it. But there's still cases where, unfortunately, preventable harm does happen in healthcare situations. So it is important to kind of track it and then constantly review and make sure that your staff are kind of following the right procedures and best practices.
And I think one of the big misnomers about patient safety is it's not about all the bad things that happen. In a lot of cases, it's what we call near misses, right? Where something could have happened, but it was stopped because the right process was in place. But maybe it got a little bit further, too close to the patients. And so by tracking that, you're able to review and look at and make yourself safer. So
that's right.
I think that's important to say. It's not always just about tracking the wrong site surgeries or the fact that a different dose was given. Sometimes it's caught beforehand, but you want to track that. And that's what RLDatix does, right?
Exactly. There's a huge spectrum of kind of what could potentially go wrong. And then, as you say, a lot of times it's caught before there's actual harm. But it's important to learn because next time you don't know if you'll be as lucky.
Now, right off the top, I did mention the fact that you have done so much work internationally. Why was that important, do you think, to go international for the two companies? And I know you're recent, but why do you think international expansion is so good for the company?
Well, I think the problem of patient safety is a global one. We suffer that in kind of all jurisdictions. And I was like looking at a recent kind of World Health Organization report about kind of patient safety, and you still, I think 1 in 10 people globally still suffer from an adverse event. So yeah, it's a problem everywhere. I think the more we learn from the different markets, we can bring those to our products in all countries.
Well, let's dive into that for a minute, because you're right. I mean, absolutely, safety is a universal concern. Doesn't matter if you have a single payer system, multi-payer system, whether it's government run or not. Of course, our two countries are government run. but what are you able to bring? Because of the fact that you can see across different jurisdictions and different geographies. Are you able to bring sort of best practices from here in the UK to the Americans and then Americans back here to the UK? Is that some of the things you do?
It's tricky because I think each country has its own kind of standards, but in terms of the data they collect and their own kind of approaches to privacy and things like that. But we do see patterns of how that information is collected. And I think the common things of being able to kind of identify trends, how do you investigate those things, that's easier to kind of bring the best practices kind of globally. So when you do see something being done well, how do you apply that to other countries?
And how do you think being international has helped you from a technology standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do look over all the products for
Yeah.
RLDatix.
Mm-hmm.
So how has that influenced what decisions you have to make inside the solution?
I think being international is great because it helps you break out of assuming the one way you see is the only way to do it. So we do see multiple different approaches, and sometimes we have come over-index on a particular country and how it's done things. But more broadly, especially in patient safety, where we do have our products kind of globally, it has helped us kind of generalize and not kind of overfit to a kind of given market. And understanding what's common and what's different. So the NHS has its own criteria of what information needs to be collected for safety events, which is different from the US, and that can kind of vary from different healthcare group.
Well, it sounds like your platform has to be pretty flexible then to be able to accommodate all these different requirements and different schemas, if you will, of different data that you have to collect.
Yes, it definitely is. We offer a lot of kind of customization. So the products do work in different markets. But we also do a lot of effort to kind of map internally to a kind of common taxonomy, if you will, of what these different information means, because that allows us to then kind of train AI models, which we can deploy to all countries. Because I think the volume of data in these systems is so great. You do need great tools, and AI is opening like the next step of tooling we can do to help people dig into that data, figure out how they can improve their systems.
So just to give an example, how we might refer to wrong dose in the US or in Canada might be different than how it's done over here in the NHS. Is
Yes.
that kind of the mapping you're talking about?
Yes, that sort of thing, yeah.
Okay, and so once it's in this taxonomy into a standardized one, is it then easier for you to do, like you said, analytics and run AI? What kind of AI are you training on this kind of data?
Yeah, I think one exciting feature which we kind of launched this year and is being used by some of our customers is around data entry. I think as as time goes on and more types of events happen, the natural instinct is like we need to collect more information so we can kind of learn from that. But that makes it quite onerous for people to fill in these events, and then actually has the wrong type of effect. And actually sometimes less events get kind of reported because it just takes too long. So we've been working on an kind of AI conversational program, which first allows the person reporting just to kind of describe what happens in natural language. We try to extract as much information from them as possible, but then we can look at, okay, what other information do we need? And can we pull that from other systems? So we don't need to kind of ask you, or then ask you specifically for that type of information rather than pointing you to a form kind of 20 fields deep and so on. So this type of AI is supposed to make it easier and kind of quicker for people to fill in incidents. And ultimately, if you don't report an incident, you can never kind of act on it.
Right, you've kind of highlighted the dichotomy there. The more information that is reported, the better the information that's inside, and therefore you're able to do more deeper dives to fix the process or to address the safety issue. But if you make it too onerous, as you mentioned, people don't want to do it.
Exactly.
And so it ends up going unreported, which is worse.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it sounds like you've combined AI scribe, essentially, so that someone can speak it in a natural language and not have to key it in all in or write an essay. And also that it knows to maybe go to the ADT system or the main EHR, maybe to gather some other information that maybe that person now doesn't have to go and find and collect.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Exactly. So that's still in the kind of research part. So part of our teams over in North America are kind of working on that. But we want to be able to kind of integrate with like the main EHRs, which do have a lot of information already of what could have happened, especially like the kind of build up to the event. So yeah, that is where our ambition is to get to.
That's amazing, actually. Yeah. that I think will make a big difference for the frontline staff entering. So I have to ask this other question because this was sort of the dream of patient safety platforms a long time ago. How much can be fully automated. Is that ever something that can come about where the system, just based on inputs from a variety of different places, can automatically flag a near miss or a potential error?
Yeah.
Um,
That is a direction where we're looking at. Our systems are kind of like widely adopted, which are great, but still requires a lot of time from humans in the loop to kind of gather the data, analyze the data, and so on. What we're working on now is be able to, as you say, collect as much of that information as possible, but then also kind of analyze trends, like what types of events are beginning to spike or kind of increase, which you might not have seen before. But then also, what's really exciting is another thing we've started is the Patient Safety Institute in North America, where hospitals kind of share what's happened to them and then how they actually improved it in an anonymous way, because people are apprehensive about kind of sharing this information because it's very sensitive. But yeah, we're hoping to kind of automate it, but then also identify trends. And then once we get the full loop closed, here's other things different healthcare groups did to actually make a meaningful difference in this type of safety event.
So kind of sharing of the remedies that
Exactly.
they have implemented.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. So you have the Safety Institute, you have this AI scribe. What other exciting things are you working on here at RLDatix?
Well, there's a lot of going on because we also have many kind of complementary products. So looking at, here in the UK, we do a lot of kind of workforce rostering. So knowing kind of who's working and when, different kind of skill mixes, but also credentialing solutions. So the kind of the history of the providers in the system. So we're looking to kind of, can we join all these different sources of information and get more intelligence to help the healthcare groups kind of be more efficient and ultimately safer. So another interesting company that's recently joined RLDatix is a company called Social Climb. And they're really focused on the patient experience side of things, which is an area which we haven't focused on before. But then this gives us an additional signal, kind of data from like what is the patient experiencing while they're in hospital, and kind of joining that up, like did people with kind of negative experiences have more safety incidents, but also just building up that picture of what happened in the kind of build up. So giving us that sort of 360 picture. So we're hoping to do more and more of that in the future.
Yeah, so you are really building a 360 view that blends something unique. I mean, we talk about patient experience a lot on this channel.
Yeah.
But that only gives one side. You've added now the safety side, because at the end of the day, you can have a great experience, but if it's not a safe experience, then really what did that achieve?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You got to have both, in
Yeah.
other words. And RLDatix sounds like it's in a spot where you can
Yes.
merge both.
Yeah, and that's the direction we're heading in, and we're hoping to get to more and more kind of real-time feedback from patients. So we're doing some experiments around an app people can kind of install when they go into hospital, so they can report anything about their experience while it's happening, rather than in a survey after they've left. A simple example is they might have called the call button a few times, but no one's come. And a simple thing could be that they just really needed to go to the bathroom, but no one came to help them, so they try to get themselves out of bed and then they trip and fall. So that's something that's easily preventable. So if they have a feedback mechanism in real time, someone in the hospital can intervene and kind of prevent that from happening.
Right. So if the call button's called too many times, nothing's happening, after a certain delay, maybe someone goes over and checks it out.
Yeah.
Proactive prevention. I love it.
Exactly.
I think patients would love it too.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit, or actually, I wouldn't mind you giving me a little bit of advice. Like for anybody who's listening or watching this, who may be thinking about expanding internationally, whether that's from the US to other places, Canada to other places, UK to America.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone contemplating that?
Yes, it's a big step, especially in healthcare, because every country has its own regulations and it's a very regulated industry. So I think the first step is try to find out what you don't know. What is different about that country's healthcare system? What's the same? And then make sure that you kind of build up that knowledge and where your product will potentially have to adapt to cope with the different regulations and different laws. The other thing that's been very successful for us is working closely with your customers when you're developing new features. Don't try to perfect it before launching it. Get kind of advisory boards, early access customers who want to trial things with you. Then kind of basically what works from your existing product and what areas where you might need to change.
That sounds like good advice.
Yeah.
Working with your customers. And also, I have to say that RLDatix has invested in each of the countries that you do business with. You have local representation,
Yes.
local offices, so they can give you a really good picture of what it's really like to be in those healthcare organizations. You have offices in, like you mentioned, Toronto, Chicago,
Yeah.
here, of course. So you're not just sort of doing it from afar.
No, no, yeah, we are definitely a global company. So across, we also have big offices in Sweden and Australia as well. We've got like quite a big footprint there with New South Wales healthcare system is one of our kind of biggest customers.
So I got to ask this.
Yeah.
So how do you keep all these different regulations in your heads, your collective heads? Like
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like you just mentioned 5 jurisdictions right there.
Yeah.
How do you keep them all? How do you juggle them all?
Yeah, I think making sure that compliance is a core part of your strategy and kind of leaning in and embracing it rather than just thinking as another thing you have to do. So we have a great team internally working on compliance and understanding deeply each jurisdiction's requirements and kind of where they overlap and where they aim to do the same thing. So we have our own internal kind of set of controls of what they're trying to achieve. And try to create a global RLDatix standard of what that needs to be done. Then we know before launching a product in a given market if we're compliant or not. And I think having that central expertise is so important rather than trying to have every team figure it out for themselves.
And Miles, I have to ask this. You have a very technical background.
Yes.
You worked at Google,
Mhm.
you worked at WhatsApp,
Yeah.
And now you're working in healthcare.
Mhm.
So what are you bringing from those experiences to your role here at RLDatix?
Yes, I've been kind of very lucky in my career and worked at some very fast-moving, forward-thinking companies and really pushing what technology can do. And that's the experience I'm bringing to kind of RLDatix. Like, how do we modernize and make use of the current state of the art? Looking at kind of different problems, particularly around kind of AI, because there's so much AI can kind of do right now. And there's so much kind of data in healthcare, and that's where it can really help. So I think try to kind of bring us to that next stage and really create the advanced tools that the healthcare systems need.
Final question for you, Miles.
Mhm.
Where can people go to learn more about RLDatix?
I think the best place to go is our website, so www.rldatix.com. You can find out a lot more about our products, but also news and some videos we do, and also kind of links through to our kind of other social media presence if you want to follow us.
Well, Miles, thank you again for allowing me to come to your office today, and thank you so much for sharing the information.
Cool, my pleasure. No, thank you for coming.
What stuck with me from that conversation with Miles was his comment around finding out what you don't know. He made it very clear that going global in healthcare isn't about language or localization. It's about listening, building with real customers from the area, and having a team of people on the ground in the countries you're doing business in, people who truly understand the healthcare landscape. And hey, if you want more field-tested advice like this, click that subscribe button and you'll hear from more health IT leaders who are making it all work. I'm Colin Hung here in London, UK. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.